Rats, they are everywhere. In the sewers, in the streets, and like in my case, in your kitchen. In student areas like Cathays, rats are hated and infestations are not uncommon. But by speaking with rodent experts and pest control, I want to find out if rats really are the problem. My name is Luca Stancheris and this is Rathays. The inspiration behind Rathays starts here, in my nightmare student house. We had an infestation for months, and the smell of dead rat still lingers in the air. It started when the rats were running across the garden. We didn't think much of it, but then they started running under our cupboards, in the walls, and the final straw was when they ran across our kitchen top. So much so that my housemate had to use a pair of tongs to remove it. In student areas across Britain, rodent sightings like this are becoming more and more frequent. And I wanted to get to the bottom of it. So I asked students around Cathays what their experiences with rats were.
Yeah, they're not very nice.
I've had rats in my walls.
A rat came out the oven.
They're nasty.
I had an assignment that it was due in. You hand it in, and literally bite marks were all around it.
No, there's too many. We need to get rid of them.
Got rats in our walls, you know, in the ceiling, baby rats, we hear them flying.
Absolutely disgusting. But a dead rat on top of a car being eaten by a seagull.
The mate who knew he had a rat in his room tried killing it with his cricket bat.
They'll start stinking because they start dying, and there's really nothing you can do about it.
It's not fair for the rat, and it's also not fair for the people that live in the home.
But why are there so many rats? Well, they are phenomenal breeders. A female typically has around 6 litters a year, each with up to 12 pups. These pups can then reach sexual maturity after just 2 months of being alive. That means they can have their own kids themselves. But to do this, they need the right environment, just like student areas. So I asked Werner from Pest Control to see why areas like student areas make the ideal breeding grounds.
We're always going to be surrounded by a rodent of some sort. Rats are very indiscriminate. They will just go where they want to go. Students' accommodation, for instance, you got 8 people living in one place. All of a sudden, you've got a multiplication of attractants. If they find a habitable area that's suited for them, they're going to go there, as long as they have everything they need. In other words, food, water, shelter. First place we look at is the kitchen, and you got a kitchen and the gas harbors full of food. They create that environment for a rodent to go in and just thrive. They just need to change their ways a little bit, because if they change their ways, it will actually support us in trying to get rid of a problem for them.
What would you say is the difficulty in removing the rats?
They are very neophobic, so they're very fearful of things that are new in their environment. Sometimes people will go and buy a shop-bought rodenticide. Sometimes it will work, other times it doesn't work, and then you find that resistance gets introduced within a colony because of that neophobic behavior. We go and put traps down, it's not as effective. But if you find that there is something in the property, either contact your landlord, contact the letting agent, or contact us directly. If there's a problem in one house, it could potentially spill over to other properties next to it. Someone living in the property, renting from a landlord, have left the back door open. From that perspective, you can't just point the finger at landlords. Other factors might be building conditions. It could be a broken vent at the front, or there's a drain that's broken and the rats come through the drains and they get into walls. Don't try and do something yourself, because 9 out of 10 times it's not going to work.
What are some sort of general things that people or students could do to prevent rats from coming in the first place?
First thing you need to do, hygiene. Just clean up everything. Don't leave food out. And that is the very top of everything. And the second thing is bins outside. Don't just put a bag outside, because that is going to attract pests. Not necessarily rats, but you also get gulls, pigeons. They're going to destroy the bags as well.
A Garreath article states that Cardiff Uni spends around £70,000 a year on pest control. So I've gone to meet the Student Union president to see what can be done and to have a look at her newly proposed housing campaign.
Last year, a week before my dissertation was due, I had a rat that got out of my walls and then jumped on my bed in the middle of the night. That was kind of the catalyst in me being like really passionate about housing stuff this year, in particular kind of helping support students in being able to stand up for themselves a bit better. Students who are leaving home for the first time, they might not know how to kind of like be authoritative with their landlord. So our housing campaign, we've had kind of 2 parts to it. Our first thing focused on like housing red flags, what to look out for while you're looking for a student house.
What are those?
Like, is there mold? Is there damp? Does the landlord say stuff like, oh, we'll fix it when you move in? Do you see rats running around that house? And our second part of the campaign is going to be common student housing issues and then how to fix them. We've been doing a lot of collaboration with our student advice team. Students can go speak to them if they're having problems, and they've got stock of like email templates that you can use to send emails to your landlord. But these posters are going to be like, do you have mold? Here's what you do, 4 steps.
But this isn't just isolated in Cardiff, is it? This is...
No, I mean, in Cardiff, we're kind of unique in that all of our students live in the same place compared to other places in the country. Students are living in more rundown areas altogether. We're also new to living by ourselves, and part of that comes with not knowing how to deal with these situations or prevent them in the first place.
Do you think it might be a good idea for there to be a introductory lecture as to how to live and how to recycle and be clean when you're living on your own, particularly for those that do it for the first time?
There's definitely more that we can do to kind of get resources out to students from the start of their time. The beauty of the student advice page, and something that we can kind of help promote a bit more, is that all of this information is on the SU website. We just need to be a lot better about telling people that it's there.
So rats obviously can be a nuisance, but does it justify the level of hate they receive? We tend to adore squirrels, but considering they are also rodents, they really are just rats with good PR. Their big eyes and bushy tails deceives us into finding them cute compared to a rat's bold and scaly tail. History hasn't been kind to them either. We spent centuries blaming rats for the bubonic plague, while this has now been debunked, the cultural resentment remains. Another factor is that squirrels live in trees and rats tend to live in people's walls. But at the end of the day, they're both just living the only way they biologically know how. But in the early 1900s, something shifted. Scientists began to recognise rats' immense intelligence. I've gone to meet a rodent expert to see how they are used in modern research.
I basically went all over South Africa, catching mice and of course sometimes rats. The way we normally catch them is we attract them to traps. We use a mix between oats, peanut butter, sardines and vanilla essence. So they can actually smell this from a mile away. As we basically take a little ear clip and we then do a genetic analysis. I try to see if we would get the same sort of taxonomic resolution using genetic information.
And that helps you see what species of mice and rats there
the
are.
Taxonomic, the diversity within the species and whether we have subspecies. And it seems that these subspecies, they are also very closely associated to different vegetation types. Some of them are more arid adapted, some of them are more mesic adapted. But I've just started a new project with a PhD student here in Cardiff, and we are now going to move from the more traditional mitochondrial type DNA analysis to actually whole genome analysis.
I understand that you've also seen that rats can be quite clever animals.
Tanzania, they've got a very interesting program, University of Agriculture. They train African giant pouch mice or rats. They are bigger than a house rat. They've got extremely good smell. They are actually using these animals to detect landmines. One of the countries that's been hit hard by war is Mozambique. They get them used to the smell of the landmines. Yeah, they reward these animals then with a piece of banana, or they actually give them some peanuts. So that click is then associated with a reward, and that click then also, this is associated to the smell of the detonating powder that's in these landmines. Once the animals are trained, then they ship them to parts of the world where we have war or areas that has been under war before, which is far better than actually having humans, because if you have humans, they are too heavy and some of these landmines might still be active and they could then set these landmines.
Okay, so the rats we have over here, the brown rat, do you think that it's maybe quite clever in its own way?
I think they are very clever because they are finding themselves now in a not so natural environment because it's an urban environment. They utilize whatever is around them and they make it work for themselves. I had a friend, she opened a drawer one day. She was like, what happened to my magazine? House mouse came in and it made a really nice nest. So the house mouse basically utilized the material around it to make a nest. Very clever animals and extremely adaptable. So you can teach them tricks, they can learn things. So they're kind of right up there with all the other intelligent animals that we have. But we as humans don't always see them as very intelligent animals.
There's no doubt that rats can be very intelligent. And if you take away their dirty lifestyle through domestication, they can prove to be great companions. I went to meet Beth, an ex-owner of 10 rats, who shows that ratty love can exist. In whole, can you describe your experience of owning rats?
They were just amazing little things. They taught me a lot. Often used to go about the house doing whatever I need to do with a rat on my shoulder. They were always really excited to see me, which was, again, something I wasn't really expecting from a rodent. That bond you get with a rat is really special. They are just awesome, amazing creatures. So clever.
What would you say you've learnt from rats?
That compassion isn't only a human trait. It's something that rats, they feel, they get upset. I used to go up to their cage and they used to like scrabble to come towards me. As soon as I opened the door, they'd come, and they'd want to be, they wouldn't want to escape and just like run around or anything. They wanted to come to me because I was obviously a source of, I was one of their pack. They trusted me.
Clearly you love rats a lot, but what would you say to the people that think they're disgusting and dirty?
I would say you're wrong. They aren't disgusting. They are just existing alongside us. If people understood rats a bit more, I think they'd feel slightly less grievous towards them. I think it was David Attenborough that said that, you know, human beings have no greater right to be on this earth than any other animal. And I totally agree with that.
Rats clearly present a challenge, particularly in student areas. But if we can look past our innate prejudice, we might find a species that is less of a villain and more of a mirror reflecting our own habits back at us. That reflection is growing clearer as the climate shifts. Rising temperatures allow for more rats to survive the winter, while heavier rainfall flushes them from the sewers and into our lives. As our cities grow denser, we are inadvertently providing them with an endless buffet of waste. So, how do we address these Rathays-like areas? It starts with landlord accountability and a collective community effort of cleanliness. We need to adopt a no-nonsense approach as seen in cities like Singapore, where pest control is treated as a matter of discipline rather than an afterthought. Rats aren't going anywhere. They are simply living the only way they know how. The real question is whether we are willing to change the way we live to meet them. My name is Luca Stancheris, and this is Rathays.